Live
Isn't this pre-recorded?
Shut up.
from his bedroom.
Did you say his bedroom?
Why, yes. Yes, I did.
Oh, he is such a bad boy.
Say, man, what this show about anyway?
Politics. Religion.
Say what? Don't you know you're not allowed to talk about that stuff?
It's time to break some rules then. Prepare to get triggered and be made uncomfortable because here's your host, the Jace Man, Jace Barnett. And this is Those Two Things.
Hey guys, so long time no see. It's been a couple weeks. Timing is never nice to us. That's the way that life goes. So the first thing I want to do is I want to apologize that you haven't seen me. I brought this new show to you, brought 2 episodes, and then immediately disappeared from the face of the earth. Sometimes life happens, things that were more important and more pressing than this show with no followers were more precedent and kind of took the lead. So I apologize. Had I actually had a following and the show had been running for a while, I guess I would have sucked it up and pressed forward. But considering that I knew that I didn't really have an audience at the time, I figured none of you guys would be that upset. And if you were, I figured, if I lost 1 or 2 followers, I could probably recover from the tragedy. Having said that, I'm back now, and so I wanted to apologize for that, and now we'll be giving you a lot of content going forward. The second thing I wanted to say is in the intro, you heard that, isn't this coming to you live from his bedroom? Isn't this pre-recorded? Well, they have been up until this point. This one actually is live, at least if you're watching on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, you will be catching a replay. But for those of you here on Facebook, if you're tuned in now, you're actually seeing live content. This is taking place now, unless you watch the replay there too. You have an opportunity to watch it live on Facebook. I'll put it that way, okay? So that's the second thing. So today I want to dig right in, and as usual, I'm probably going to say some stuff that makes people mad at me. That's my specialty. But let me talk to you a little bit. If you guys have never seen the show before or you've never heard me talk before, let me tell you a little bit about the way this runs down and the way I operate, first of all, okay? So first of all, I want you to know who I am, and I don't hide that. I don't hide what my agenda is or what my bias is or anything of that in nature. I am a big enemy of confirmation bias. I hate confirmation bias, and I will speak out about it on this episode probably and every episode that follows. It is my biggest pet peeve, yet at the same time, I don't pretend that I'm immune to it. I know that I have a bias, okay? I know that. I realize that, and I'm not going to hide my bias. And I want you guys to know my bias. So, first of all, let me just say that I am a Christian. I will not hide that. So, that is where this guy is coming from. The second thing is I am a conservative. So, I'm not going to hide that either. So, I am a Christian conservative. However, one of the things that you will notice that is different about my show versus a lot of shows where you might tune into with someone who has the same ideology as I do, is that a lot of times I will actually upset those who agree with me more than those who disagree with me. And that is by design, guys. I want to let you know it is by design. So let me talk to you about why I do that and why I actually think that this is a good philosophy and why I wish I wasn't so alone in the world in doing this, okay? So here's what I mean by this, okay? I like to hold accountable those who agree with me, not those who don't. And here's why. It makes a lot of sense if you hear me out here, okay? Let's say that I am a Democratic candidate and I have accepted my party's nomination, either in my local area, my state, or my country, whatever it may be. Okay, as a Democrat, I know that by accepting that nomination, and I know by representing my party, the Republican constituents are already going to be at odds with me. They're already not going to like me. They're already going to be upset with me. They're already going to be ready to protest anything I say or do or speak on. So, for instance, if I am this Democratic candidate and a Republican gets up there and fires some date at me, lambasting me with a bunch of insults and so on and so forth, do I really care? Let's be honest, I don't care. I budgeted for that. I knew that was going to take place when I accepted my party's nomination. That was the sandbox that I knew I was playing in. So, in a sense, your cries, your protests, I hate to break this to you, but they're falling on deaf ears. The same is said exactly if we reverse it and I am the Republican candidate and I accept my Republican Party's nomination there. You Democrats can get out there and do your protests and things of that nature. And by and large, honestly, I don't care. I knew you were going to be against me when I stepped up to the plate. That's what I knew I was walking into. I don't have to try to win your support because I never had your support. So by and large, when we're voicing our complaints to the opposition, I feel that it falls on deaf ears and it's not productive. It doesn't get us anywhere because those elected representatives aren't representing us. They're representing the other guy and they know that. I feel like the only way to truly enact change, and if we want progress, and I'm not talking about progressivism, I'm talking about progress, improving. If we actually want improvement, it doesn't matter which side of the political aisle you're on, we should all want improvement. I have long believed that the only way, or should I at least say the best way, to enact change and to bring about progress or improvement, again, not talking about progressivism, progress, I could get into a whole long rant about why progressivism isn't progress, but that's another episode for another day. Having said that, if you actually want to bring about progress, here's the fact, guys. What we need to do is hold accountable the representatives that we actually elected, the ones who agree with us, the ones who side with us, because they have a vested interest in hearing us out. They have a vested interest in listening to us because, unlike the opposition, our guys do need our support to remain in power or to get power. The opposition will never give them power. The opposition certainly won't keep them in power. But if they're representing you and I, they had better listen to us or they know they're going to be out of a job. So I've always found this thing to be kind of cuckoo where we always like to shout at and yell at the other guy. It doesn't get us anywhere. They know that you're unhappy and they don't care about that. That was the plan from the beginning. So that is why you will see me in this show over and over and over hold accountable my fellow brothers and sisters in Christ. Now, there's an addition to that. I do that because, again, I believe that you can only hold people of the Spirit accountable to the Spirit. You can't hold the world accountable to the Spirit. We'll get into that in many, many episodes as well. And about how the church kind of annoys me because I feel like we practice evangelism and discipleship backwards. I feel like we try to share the gospel with those who already have it, and then share this, and then we try to disciple the lost who can't be held to the Spirit. I feel like those are the people we try to make sure, hey, you know better, and this you better get right with God. They don't know better. They can't get better. They don't live by the Spirit. So I think that we try to do evangelize the saved and disciple the lost, and it doesn't work. It's a broken system that the church needs to fix badly. And on the political side, again, you'll see me hold accountable my fellow conservatives because I think you're the people that I'm supposed to be seeing eye to eye with. You're the only people that I can hold accountable. I can't hold the opposition accountable for the reasons I just explained. With all of that said, let's dig right into our first live episode and talk about the topic that I actually wanted to talk to you guys about today. And it's about this concept of Black Lives Matters versus All Lives Matter. Okay, first of all, let me say this. Okay? When I first heard, actually, let me preface this by something else. I want to say this. I do believe that there is a difference between the Black Lives Matter organization and the Black Lives Matter movement or the Black Lives Matters phrase, okay? I fully believe and support the concept that Black Lives Matter. I guess you could say I'm a part of the movement, even though I'm not out there protesting and things of that nature. And perhaps I should be. We'll get into that in this video too. Don't you go anywhere. you're going to have plenty of opportunities to be mad at me no matter which side you're on. Trust me, I make it real easy to get mad at me. I make it super easy for everyone to get mad at me. You won't have to look that hard. But I will say that I support the agenda or the mission of Black Lives Matter in that I don't want Black lives to be mistreated. I don't want them to suffer from injustices, okay? But I'm also against the Black Lives Matter organization because I think that's a completely separate entity with a completely separate agenda. Okay? So when you hear me speak, realize that I may not be coming at things from the same position that you're coming from them at because I realize that there is a distinct line between the phrase and the organization. Okay? But here's what I wanted to say to you guys, okay? So when I first saw Black Lives Matter, I had the same gut instinct and the guttural reaction that most people do. And I believe really people of faith like me because I talk constantly. If you guys have seen me on Facebook or other places, or maybe you know me in your day-to-day life, you know that I'm a pretty compassionate guy. And a big part of my ministry is constantly about sharing love, mercy, forgiveness. Love, mercy, forgiveness. Love, mercy, forgiveness. That's what I talk about over and over and over, so much so that many of you have accused me many times of being one of these people who watered down the gospel. I'm here to tell you that if you're preaching mercy, you're not watering down the gospel. You're actually preaching the gospel. That's what Jesus told us to do. Okay? You can't share the good news without having some good news. The gospel is the good news. The good news can't be doom and gloom. Okay? Now, I do believe in holding people accountable. I do believe that preaching sin is sin. But again, I think that we need to hold accountable our brothers and sisters in Christ, not the world. The church really has a bad habit of doing this completely wrong and completely incorrect. We want to hold accountable people who have never been born of the Spirit and expect them to live by the Spirit. Newsflash, they can't do it. If you and I profess to being Christians, we can. If you are a brother or sister in Christ and you see Jace screwing up and walking down the street, I give you permission. In fact, I implore you to walk up and hold me accountable, step on my toes, and throw me in the fire. I want that. I need that, and that's what you're supposed to do. Conversely, if you see the guy living across the street who you know is an atheist or who professes to be a part of some other religion and you see them goofing off, I implore you not to go up and lambaste them and bash them over the head and tell them what they need to be doing or what they need to be changing and how they need to be living like Christ, because they can't do that. You can't hold them accountable or hold them to our standard because they're not a part of this family and they don't understand these rules. The Bible makes that clear. Instead, go share the gospel with them. Go share the love of Jesus with them. Let the Holy Spirit take care of cleaning them up. You just worry about introducing them to Jesus. That's what you need to worry about, okay? Now, having said that, to get back on track and not get too far off, the Black Lives Matter thing. When I first heard that, my gut instinct was to be like everyone else. That doesn't sound right. All lives matter. I actually think I was one of the first people to think all lives matter in correction to Black Lives Matter before I started seeing this movement and things going on there. I thought that. I did what most of us do. But then I stepped back and I thought and I meditated. And I realized a couple different things, okay? One of the first things I realized, and I'm going to show you some images in a minute to kind of make this, I'm going to give some illustrations, okay? I've got a couple little images I mocked up in my image editor here. But one of the first things I thought of was, I thought to myself, really, okay, Jace, if you truly believe that all lives matter, and you see a sign that says Black Lives Matter, it's fair to ask yourself, well, are Black lives included in that? And I would go, of course they are. And then I think it's fair to go, then what's the big deal? Why does this sign bother you if all lives matter and Black lives are part of them? Those lives matter too. You just said that they're included, right? Yeah, I did say that. So what is the big deal? Well, really, there shouldn't be. There really shouldn't be a big deal about that. And if there is a big deal about that, I think it's important for us to ask ourselves why this is impacting us and why we think that's a big deal. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up the illustration now, okay? Because what I want to talk about is two things. If you actually believe, if you are on my side of the political aisle, and my side right now, supposedly, the political right, the Christian right, the Christian conservative right, the conservative right, the right, however you want to break those distinctions up, whether you're in one of those groups, two of those groups, or all three of those groups, okay? Whichever description is you. Supposedly, our side is supposed to be the people who are upset about Black Lives Matter, and we're the ones that are rallying All Lives Matter. Well, if that's true, if it's not just something you're saying, if you truly, truly believe that all lives matter, I want you to stay tuned and listen to my challenge, and don't think with your emotions. Don't think with what you have been posting for the past 1 day, 7 days, 10 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 2020. Don't think with the bias that you've already been living in, and look at this as though I am stepping on your toes or challenging you. Instead, just think about the content of what I'm getting ready to say and whether or not it makes sense and whether or not it's fair. Not whether or not you like it, not whether or not it upsets you, but whether or not I seem to be speaking truth and whether or not it's fair. That's my challenge to you before I begin. And if you're on the opposite side, I'm getting ready to say something that will probably make you happy. Well, I would tell you stay tuned again with this episode. I'll probably still say something that bothers you. And if not, stay tuned to some other episodes. I certainly will, okay? But no matter what, no matter who's watching this, I'm always going to challenge you to challenge yourself, because essentially that is really my challenge. Challenge yourself. Look at yourself, look at what you think and why you think it, and challenge yourself to give answers to those hard to answer questions, okay? So here's the thing. All lives matter, right? That's what we say. All lives matter. Well, if all lives matter, then when we see stuff like we see people going, well, okay, this is a common one that you'll see on your timeline. I'm sure you've seen it 100,000 times. I have. We'll see someone talking about, first of all, I do not condone riots. Let me start by saying this. I'm anti-riot. I'm anti-breaking the law. I'm anti-causing a scene and destroying property and putting people in harm's way. I'm against that, okay? I'm against the riots, but I'm for protests all day long. I do think that sometimes you need to cause a little bit of ruckus. Maybe I shouldn't even have said that I'm against breaking the law, because I know that a lot of people will hate to admit this, or will probably deny it. But my Savior, he broke some laws. He broke some Roman law. He did some things that he was not allowed to do where he was. And that's just a fact. So sometimes maybe you do have to break some laws, but I don't think you have to threaten people, and I don't think you have to destroy things. I certainly don't think that you have to destroy the property of innocent people who aren't hurting you. For instance, what I would say this is, if you are a Black Lives rioter, protester, I don't want to say rioter in this case because I'm talking to you, right? But if you're a Black Lives protester, your beef is with the system. Your beef is with unfair police officers or bad cops, or again, a system that supports them, or at least again, I'm speaking to those who agree with me. I'm speaking as them right now, and I'm talking to them. So these are not my words necessarily, or not necessarily my feelings. Okay? But if you are a Black Lives protesting participant, okay, or supporter, your beef is with the system, right? You're against bad cops, bad judges, bad attorneys, so on and so forth, that you feel have mistreated you or done an injustice to you, okay? Okay. Well, here's the thing. If your issue is with the system, then I think that you need to take it up with the system, not the guy who owns the local bakery or shoe store or video game shop or paint place or service station or what. That is a private entity. That is a free market business person. That is not the system. The system is the public facing side of things. That's government. If you have an issue with the government, take your fight to the government. Don't take it to the innocent bystanders who are not there keeping you down. That's what I would say first of all. Now, again, time to step on my own side's toes here, okay? Okay, so all lives matter, right? So I hear again on the timeline, it'll say something like, I'll see people who, after there's a shooting of a black person, or the death of a black person by suffocation, or we could use up any kind of example that you want. You substitute your specific example in here. I don't care. You substitute your example in here. And then we see people out there protesting these events. And then to challenge them, we like to use an example of, say, a white civilian who was killed by a white cop to show them that it's not prejudice or racial in nature. It could happen to anyone and does happen to anyone. Or we'll totally flip the script and use a white civilian killed by a black police officer or something of that nature. And then what we'll do is we'll say, where's the outrage for this person? Where's the protest for this person? Where's the riots for this person? To which I would say, if you're challenging an injustice done to someone and saying that justice should be done for this person, and you're using that as an excuse not to do justice for someone else, that's a weird argument and a weird fight to make. If you're actually bothered, I'm just going to use a name that's not real here. We're going to use the name Nancy. Nancy is a white civilian, and let's just say that she is killed by a black police officer unfairly. The black police officer went too far. He didn't follow protocol. He didn't do his job, and he took the life of an innocent Nancy. That's the way we're going to shape this argument. Okay, if this is what happened, and you're deciding that the way to support Nancy and to support justice and to support fairness is to post her story when people are fighting against injustices done to, we'll say, Mark, who is a black man who was killed by a white officer. If you are fighting for Nancy by challenging those who are fighting for Mark, you have accomplished nothing. You have accomplished nothing. If you really believe that a grave injustice was done for Nancy, and you're saying, why aren't you out there protesting and fighting for Nancy? I'll flip the script right back on you and say, you're right. So why aren't you out there fighting for Nancy? Why aren't you out there doing something? I can explain why they're not in just a second, and I'm going to do that right now. Okay? Let's go ahead and bring up my little image editor here. Okay? So let's see. This guy right here has got a sign on, or a shirt on, and I mocked these up. I mocked these two shirts up in the image editor just a second ago. And maybe I should sell these because these look really, really cool. Simple and cool. Yeah. And everybody hates cancer. Contact me to buy your shirt after the show, and I'll gladly accept your money. As a matter of fact, if you don't want the shirt, just send me your money. Okay? But anyway, so the shirt says fight cancer, right? Okay. Then we have over here another gentleman wearing a shirt that says prostate cancer sucks. Okay, let's say that these two gentlemen are the CEOs or the presidents or the manager, whoever it is, whatever title is the leader of two local nonprofits in a little area. This guy represents an organization called Prostate Cancer Sucks. Okay? This guy represents a local organization simply entitled Fight Cancer. Okay? Now, when you go, this is going to be our All Lives Matter guy, by the way, in case you guys couldn't tell where I'm going with this. And this is going to be our Black Lives Matter guy, in case you couldn't tell where I'm going with this. So I'm going to foreshadow a little bit. Stay tuned, though. Okay. So, our little guy with the Fight Cancer. This is me. I'll be this guy in both illustrations. This is me, okay? So I own Fight Cancer, okay? And in this case, I own Prostate Cancer Sucks. In this case, though, This is you. You're on the other side of the video. You're the caller. You decide that you might want to support my organization. You might want to make a donation, either of your time, your money, or both. But you want to challenge me and vet me and see if I'm being genuine and sincere. So what you do is you pick up your little phone and you give me a call. And you say, okay, Jace, now, before I give you any money or before I go out there and volunteer my time to support you, I've got to push back on you a little bit. Not bad mouthing you, but I need you to explain to me how this works. Because when I look at the data, I see that your organization has collected $2.4 million in the last 2 years. Okay? Is that right? I say, yeah, that sounds about right. And then you say, okay, well, here's the thing. I see on your website that your stated mission is to fight all cancer and to raise awareness for all cancers and to help bring an end to this terrible blight on mankind. We want to help end cancer. That's your stated mission. And it shows that in the $2.4 million, you have given 50% of your money to breast cancer research. You have given 10% of your money to skin cancer. You've given another 10% of your money to stomach cancers, blah, 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 blah. What I have noticed, though, is that you haven't given a single dollar. You haven't given any of your money to thyroid cancer research. And I need you to explain that to me because thyroid cancer research is incredibly important to me. Because, okay, now, maybe it's because this person again, this is you. Maybe it's because this person, you, have personally battled thyroid cancer, or maybe someone in your family has, a mother, father, brother, sister, child, whatever the case may be, right? So you say, and if I'm really going to help you, if I'm really going to help support you and help to do that, I need to know that we're on the same side here. And I need to know that we have the same mission. You've said that your mission is to fight cancer. Can you tell me why none of your money, time, or research is going to fight thyroid cancer? That is cancer, right? That is one of the types of cancer that are out there. That's something you supposedly want to end. So why is none of your money going there? Okay. Is it fair for you to ask me that question? Yes. Emphatically, yes. That is fair for you to ask that because, again, what I'm actually saying, if you see right here, what I'm actually saying is that we fight cancer. That's what my mission says. That's what's on my shirt. You want to know, is it true? Is it legit? Right? Completely fair to ask that question. Completely fair to give me a litmus test to hold my feet to the fire and see if I'm genuine. That's what All Lives Matter kind of looks like. If you're saying that, you're right. There should be protests out there happening for the injustice of white people and brown people and yellow people and red people. But if you're noticing these injustices, you should be championing the cause. You should be out there lobbying and fighting against those injustices because you're the one with the all encompassing. That's your fight. That's what you say you believe in. It's your job to be out there leading the way because it fits in with what you said your mission statement is. Let's flip the script a little bit, guys. Okay? Now, again, here I am. Now I am this gentleman. I know we look a little bit different, but trust me, this is really me. It is. I wouldn't lie to you. This is me. Okay? And so in this illustration, here I am, and I run an organization that I founded called Prostate Cancer Sucks. Again, you call me up. You call me up. And you say, hey, Jace, I've been looking at your website. I hate cancer as much as anyone, man. I can't stand cancer. It's a terrible thing. And I noticed that we have a cancer organization, an anti-cancer organization right here in my town. And I wouldn't mind maybe, volunteering my time and money to help you fight this battle. But I've got to ask you a couple questions before I get started. Okay, what do you got going on? Well, what I noticed was that it says that you've made about $2.4 million dollars in the last 2 years, raised about $2.4 million dollars with your Prostate Cancer Sucks organization. Is that right? That sounds about right. Okay, well, can you explain to me why none of that money has gone to support and fight against thyroid cancer? Well, yeah, we are fighting prostate cancer here. Yeah, but hold on. Don't you agree that all cancers are bad? Well, yeah, I do agree with that. But what we're doing is we're fighting prostate cancer. But you do think that all cancers are bad, right? Yes, I think that all cancers are bad. So again, why is none of your money going there? Because we are an organization that's fighting prostate cancer. We're speaking out against prostate cancer. Well, I don't know if I can help you fight prostate cancer if you're not really against all cancers. Well, I just said that I'm against all cancers. Then how come you're not doing anything to fight prostate cancer Be- or thyroid cancer? Because we fight prostate cancer here. That's what our stated mission is on our sign, on our brochures, on our pamphlets, on the T-shirt that I'm wearing. It says that I'm fighting prostate cancer. That's my mission. It doesn't mean that I'm against research or funding or anything going on for these other cancer researches. It just means that my personal battle is prostate cancer. That's what I'm waging against. So I'm going to break away from the illustration here and explain. This is kind of what's going on. For whatever reason, those of us who claim to be all lives matter, we're challenging the Black Lives Matter crowd. We're saying, how come you're not out there fighting for every life? Whereas the answer is in their stated mission. They are currently fighting a movement entitled Black Lives Matter. It would be weird if they were supporting Black Lives Matter by going the other route. However, we switch gears again. We're the All Lives Matter crowd, okay? So if all lives matter and all cancer sucks, we should be out there fighting all of them. We shouldn't be telling the prostate cancer guy to sit down and shut up. It's still a cancer. It's still a life that matters. We should be joining in over there and saying, let us help, because that prostate cancer is a part of all cancer, right? So we should be challenging ourselves, step up to the plate, right? It's not fair for us to go to them and say, it seems to me like you should be doing more for all lives, all cancers. Well, they're currently doing what their stated mission is, guys. It's weird for us to say that all lives matter and then to fight for basically no lives, because that's what we're essentially doing. We're challenging them, saying again, why aren't you out there protesting on behalf of Nancy? Don't you realize that a grave injustice was done to her? Don't you realize that this never should have happened? Instead of us asking them that question, isn't it fair to ask ourselves that question? Don't we realize that a grave injustice was done? Don't we realize that it never should have happened? Shouldn't we take action? Challenging other people to take action is not taking action. Telling other people that they're taking the wrong action is also not taking action. If you believe that a grave injustice was done to Nancy, you might be right. You probably are right. But that does not mean that a grave injustice wasn't also done to Tyrone. If one of these bothers you, both of these should bother you. That's what we're saying anyway. That's supposedly what we're claiming when we say all lives matter. If one of these injustices is done, it's too many and it shouldn't be done. We should get rid of all injustices. Okay, I agree. We should get rid of all injustices. You know how that starts? By trying to get rid of some of the injustice, not by sitting there telling other people that they should be doing more. It seems almost like the All Lives Matter crew has become the No Lives Matter crew. We have decided that instead of getting out there and fighting for all lives, we'll find the people who seem to be fighting in our minds for some lives and telling those people, just shut up and get over it. Sit down. Stop making a scene. That's not showing that all lives matter. It's basically showing that none of them matter, to be honest. It's a really bizarre outlook and a bizarre approach. And let me just say this, let me add this in there. It doesn't even matter if you believe that things are being blown out of proportion or that they are being said to the wrong degree. Again, I am on the Christian conservative right. I'm on the side that promotes all lives matter and is anti-Black Lives Matter. Or, again, going with the general illustration and the general verbiage and argument that's out there. Okay? And again, I talked about how I was personally offended the first time I saw Black Lives Matter because I thought, how dare you? Don't you realize that all lives matter? Then I had to step back and realize that the word only wasn't in front of black, first of all, and that if I really truly believed that all lives matter, Black Lives Matter shouldn't bother me or offend me because black is part of all. Then here's what I want to say. Do I personally believe that that racism is real? You better believe I do. I definitely believe that racism is real. Do I believe that minorities, black people specifically, since that's the group we're talking about right now, do I believe that they encounter racism every day? Yeah, I do. At least if they're corresponding with other people every day, maybe they don't. Maybe a lot of them are shut in or don't go out or only interact in their own same race community. But if they're out there mixing and mingling with the majority, the white race, I believe that they probably encounter it every day. I've grown up in cities and I've grown up and lived in rural America, and I can tell you that I've seen people say and do a lot of ugly, ugly, ignorant stuff in both the city and the country. Okay. Um, I also think that there are black people out there who are racist too. It's been said that blacks can't be racist, and I think that is a nonsensical argument, a nonsense statement. Of course they can't. Anyone can hate someone of another race. That's not isolated to whites. We can talk about systemic racism versus racism. We can have that discussion if you want. But to say that blacks or any particular race can't be racist is foolish. Of course they can. And not only can they, people of every race are racist. It's everywhere. It is everywhere. But that we can't use that as a scapegoat to avoid talking about the issue that's at hand right now. What we're talking about is racism against the black people, and what we're talking about is systemic racism and perhaps police brutality and things of that nature. Again, guess what? I support the police. I support the police. I would also challenge you and say this. If you think that the state, first of all, let me say this. If you think that the statement Black Lives Matter, not the organization, the statement, if you think that Black Lives Matter is somehow a racist statement, you've got a clear agenda that's not accurate and not sincere. If you think that the phrase Black Lives Matter is somehow anti-police, again, we're talking about the phrase, not the organization. And I would say again, you have a clear agenda and you're not being sincere. I'll push back on that a little bit the other way and say, if you think that Blue Lives Matter is a racist statement and it's against black people, you have a clear agenda and you're not paying attention either. None of these things are inherently racist. None of these things are against anyone. They're lobbying to show support for a specific group of people. That doesn't mean against someone else. Now, don't get me wrong, there can be people in that movement, in either movement, who are against a bunch of other people, but that doesn't mean that phrase is bad or anything of that nature. You can't apply it broad brush strokes. Can't do that. Furthermore, if we are, again, all lives matter people, and I'm a policeman supporter, I back the blue. That's the saying, right? I back the blue. I bring my policemen cookies. I see them out, and I'll buy their meals for them when I see them standing in line at the same restaurants I am. I defend them when I see people besmirching them online. I do back the blue, okay? I do appreciate my police officers. That's irrelevant, though. What I'm getting ready to say is if you are, again, an all lives matter person, I find it kind of weird that we have all lives matter who then want to go ahead and post a blue lives matter sticker or banner or whatever. It just seems a bit disingenuous. It seems like you're really against the Black Lives movement, even though you're saying you're not, or you're really against Black Lives, even though you're saying you're not, when you do that. Because when they had the Black Lives thing, you're breaking up your little marker and you're scratching through black. How dare you? All. It's all. But then you post a blue over that. And I have to ask, didn't you just get done saying 4 seconds ago that all lives matter? Now why are you starting an exclusive group and saying blue? You can put any color you want there. White, blue, black, red, orange, yellow, green. If it's all, and you're going to fight the argument that it's all, then you can't scratch through part of it and stick another word up there. You're shooting yourself in the foot. You're arguing against yourself. You're doing a horrible job of debate. Okay? And I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt and assuming that you're not racist. Okay? I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt and just telling you that your debate style leaves a lot to be desired. It really does. It's not a good way to debate that black is divisive and it is racist and it's irresponsible when truly we know that all lives matter. And then you go ahead and take out the eraser and remove your own all and stick another exclusive group up there. You can't say all lives matter when you're talking to these people and then join in on these exclusive lives matters when you're talking to these people. You can't pick and choose when to insert all and when to subtract all. That doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. No pun intended. So last thing I would say here is this. If you are of the mentality that the media is blowing things out of proportion, if you think that racism, yeah, it's probably real, and yeah, these things happen, and yeah, but I don't think that the cops in general, by and large, are out to get our black sons who are running the streets. I don't think they're targeting our black ladies who are on their way home. I don't think that's purposely happening, and I don't think it's this big, to use another word that's hot for today. I don't think it's a pandemic. I don't think we're under a racial pandemic that's spreaded like wildfire. I know there are instances. I know this stuff happens, but it's not that big of a deal. I mean, come on, you guys are acting like it's happening all day, every day. Okay, I'm belittling it on purpose to the opposing side right now. And I will admit that sometimes I think that maybe the media is not portraying it correctly or accurately, I should say. Maybe it isn't happening to the degree that it's portrayed as happening. I would also push back on that when I say that and say, guess what, Jace? Guess what, world? That's irrelevant too. An injustice doesn't have to be occurring to the nth degree for that injustice to need to come to a halt. If something is wrong and we're in agreement that it's wrong and shouldn't be happening, it doesn't matter if it's happening a little bit or it's happening a whole lot. If we're in agreement that it's wrong, we should want to stop the wrong. You can take issues with the media. You can say the media is portraying this incorrectly and blowing things out of proportion and so on and so forth. You want to have that, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that the issue that they're reporting isn't taking place to some degree or isn't a reality. And if you don't think I have a good point here, let me challenge you with this. My dear brother, let's say that your wife is stepping out on you. She's having an affair with this hunky guy uptown. He's ripped, he's younger, he's good looking, and his body is a lot better than yours when it's unclothed too, if you know what I mean. The pastor has to be careful how much of an illustration he paints here. so I want to paint an illustration, but I have to be careful about how accurately I paint this illustration. Okay? All right. Now, it's not exactly a secret. She hasn't been that great at hiding this. The town knows this. And they start spreading this rumor that your wife is a floozy and a hussy and a harlot and we could use some even more unflattering words. And like the old biblical prophecies or the old biblical parables, we can see that they're ready to grab their stones and start chucking them at your wife, right? And because they're saying not just that she's cheating on you, but what they're saying, and the story going around town, is that she'll sleep with anyone. That she probably, that they know for a fact that she slept with 15 guys last week. And that she's been cheating on you for 10 years with 15 people that they know of, a couple few that they haven't. And yeah, they even caught your wife running around with your own brother or best friend or whatever suits the rumor. You listen to these rumors, you hear these rumors, and you say, that's not accurate. That's not true. You know the truth. You know your wife hasn't been stepping out on you and sleeping with 2 guys, 5 guys, 10 guys, 50 guys. Maybe I should have painted it the other way. She hasn't been sleeping with 50, 20, 10, 5, or even 2. She's only been sleeping with 1. She's only been hooking up with this one fella. And it hasn't been happening for the last decade. They just entered into this affair a month ago or 2 months ago. Would you then hear the story that's going around town? The media, the rumors are going to be equal here? Would you then tell them, it's not a big deal, get off of her back? No, you'd still be offended that your wife is sleeping with the one guy, right? That's one guy too many. That's one injustice too many. You would be pulling her aside and going, honey, this has got to stop. This is not something I can condone. This is not something I can allow. This is not something I can be a participant to or even dismissive of. If I silence myself and do nothing about it, I'm in the wrong. I have to take action. I have to take a stand, and I've got to let you know I won't tolerate this. You need to change. You need to give it up. You need to stop right now. That's what you would do if you're honest. And if you honestly wouldn't do that, I would tell you, well, that's what you should do. That would be the right thing, and that would be justified anger. That would be justified accountability to your wife. You would be justified in being angry and upset. You would be justified in wanting to hold your wife accountable. You would be justified in wanting to bring about change. You wouldn't seek to minimize it, and you wouldn't seek to marginalize it, minimize and marginalize. You wouldn't seek to do that and be like, well, because I know that the story going around is not true, and I know it's not that extreme. You wouldn't then say because it's not that extreme, ergo, it's something that doesn't need to be dealt with. That's what I feel like happens a lot of times when our side is going, look at what the media is saying. They're acting like every time a black guy steps off the porch, he's in danger of getting shot. And I know that's not true. Every time a black guy walks into a store, he's being escorted out in handcuffs because they suspect that he's going to be up to no good, even though that's the story they're telling. No matter what happens, it's against them. I would say to you, even if that is what the media is portraying, and sometimes I feel like that is what's being portrayed, I would say, okay, why are we focused on that, and why is that the argument? We shouldn't be saying, is it happening to the level that they're stating? What we should be saying is, are these events taking place? If we can answer yes to that, and if we can agree that it's wrong and that it shouldn't be happening, then there should be something in us that's compelled to say, I want to help bring an end to this injustice. We shouldn't need to let the thermometer climb to 100 degrees or 101 degrees or 102 degrees or 103 degrees or 104, 105, 106 before we decide that we're going to go get some medicine. We should realize that the temperature is above normal and go, maybe we should look into this. That's how I feel. I don't know. Just spitballing, guys. So I'm back. You may not want me to be, but those two things is back. And that's how I saw today. See you next time.
Did you like that? Do you want more? Then you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe. Hated the show? Hated Jace? Want to put Jace on blast? That's fine too. Let us know in the comments. And whether you love us or hate us, join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for another opportunity to talk about those two things.